Welcome to our Park City Market Talk webinar for January 2022. My name is Ron Wilstein. I'm a broker at Keller Williams Luxury Properties, and this is our first webinar of the year, which means I'm going to be covering my predictions for the new year 2022. But before we do that, let's jump right into the data, see what's been happening in the Park City real estate market. Over the past 12 months, there's been 2,794 sales. That consists of homes, condominiums, and vacant land. That's all real estate brokerages combined, and that's 92 sales, or a 3% increase over the same time period the year before. This graph here is breaking down the categories of homes, condominiums, and vacant land or lots. The red bars represent the time period of January through December 2021, so all of last year, and the silver bar represents 2020 in a year-by-year comparison. You can see right away that the number of home sales is down 20% from 925 to 739, while the condos are up by 14% from 1,174 to 1,338, and in lots they're also up by 19% to 717 from the previous year's 603 sales. Now let's break this down by each category, starting with home sales. And what I've done here, I've broken it into three geographical areas: the Park City limits, the Snyderville Basin, the county area of Park City in the same school district, and then the Jordanelle Reservoir area. So you can see that the number of transactions are down in every category, not because of a lack of interest, but because of a lack of inventory. There's not enough to sell, otherwise we would be breaking records from the previous record-breaking year. But for homes, they're down by 27%, dropping from 296 sales in 2020 to 215 in 2021. A 15% drop in the Snyderville Basin from 522 sales to 444. And then the Jordanelle area, a drop from 107 to 80 sales, a 25% decrease. Turning to condominiums, we see the opposite's the case. We had condominiums to sell, so we sold them. 19% increase in the city limits, climbing to 511 compared to the previous year of 431. A 4% increase in the Snyderville Basin from 514 to 535, and a 28% increase in the Jordanelle area from 229 to 292. Lot sales, about even, or an increase in Jordanelle area. The city limits, of course, has very few lots available to be purchased, so there were 3 fewer, dropped from 43 to 40 this past year. No change of condos, 246 in the Snyderville Basin, and in the Jordanelle area where there was available inventory to be purchased, it was climbing 37% from 314 sales to 431. So let's take a look at prices. Prices, here we see the same 3 categories. Now this graph, a horizontal one, talks about home medium sold prices, and you can see that in the city limits, prices rose year over year by 36% for homes, climbing from a medium sold price of $2,500,000 all the way up to $3,395,000. Nice increase there. Snyderville Basin rose by 21% year over year from $1,572,500 to $1,009,000 for 2020. And then a slight decrease, 5% off in Jordanelle area from $2,470,000 as the median price to last year $2,350,000. And that has more to do with smaller, less expensive properties selling during that last year period. Now let's look at condominiums. Again, another 36% increase in the city limits, climbing from $956,250 to $1,003,000 as a median price. Snyderville Basin rose 21% to $710,000 as a median price from the previous $587,500, and a 19% increase price, just under $800,000 compared to the previous $675,000. Now we're looking at land, and again, increases. Look at these percentages. Prices in the city limits rose by 57%, from $1,002,000 to $1,885,000. Rose by 29% in the Snyderville Basin, from 602,500 all the way up to 775,000, and then a whopping 97% increase in value from median price of 324,500 to 640,000. Again, types of lots varied. It was a better lot in this past year, but seeing the prices basically double is an indicator that that's where the attention was drawn this past year, since you had little choices in Park City and the Snyderville Basin. So when you look at all these combined together, categories up really in every category except for one. So prices rose double digits and as high as 97% over previous year prices. Really quite amazing. We like to look at the average time on the market for 2021, and we're looking in this case back 6 months. So the red bar represents the second half of 2021 and the silver bar represents the first half. Sales are happening quicker. Time on the market, from time on the market to the time that it closed, dropped from 64 days to 41 days. Basically, the fastest you can sell a property on average is 30 to 45 days, and we're at that figure or below. So our market is hot. Sales are happening quickly, and buyers are closing quickly to incentivize sellers to take their deals. Now let's turn to my predictions for Park City real estate in 2022. And once I share that with you, I'm going to ask Jeremy and Dean to come on and to react and give their comments if they agree with my observations, disagree, or anything they want to add to the equation. So let's just get started here and jump right in. We are now into 2022. Let's see what things are on my mind that may impact the market here. Starting with interest rates, we all know that interest rates have been steady for a long time, but they are definitely going to rise. Some have risen already, and we can expect them to increase more. Now that impacts real estate markets globally, certainly across the United States, but let me also mention this, that in Park City, where 50% of all transactions are all cash, it doesn't have as great of an impact that it does in main cities across the country. Other issue that's important to consider is inflation. We are now seeing inflation, which we have not seen for a long time. Prices are going up, the cost of living is going up, and it's definitely going to have an impact on the Park City real estate market. It costs people more to get by. It costs them more to buy anything, and real estate is included in that category. So we can expect that inflation will have an impact on our already rising prices that I've shown you in the statistical portion of this webinar. The other element that's important to consider is supply and demand. Balanced markets, there's an equal number of supply and demand. Typically in real estate, that means that in national markets, 6-month inventory is a good balanced supply and demand. In resort towns, a 9-month inventory is a good supply and demand. Well, we've got demand, but we have very little supply in Park City. So that is, again, going to drive up prices, and as we saw in the stats section, it's going to lower the number of transactions if we don't have properties to sell. That is the Park City market for 2021. That's what we're seeing going into 2022. The other element that we need to consider, of course, is the pandemic. The pandemic is impacting all of our lives. We have seen many, many variants, and we've had 5. And this latest one, the Omicron, it seems to be spreading more and more throughout the United States as well as the planet. And so it's growing in large numbers. And so it will take its toll. On a positive note, it is worth noting that both Pfizer and Merck have worked very hard to come up with antiviral pills. So it's not just vaccination that's in our arsenal in order to combat those who want to get vaccinated. Of course, we know that not everybody does, but soon we're going to have some antiviral pills that will help us fight the virus. But in all of our forecasting of the Park City real estate market, we've got to look at the impact that the pandemic is having upon us. And so I want to turn to the Summit County, Utah website and look at their dashboard. And so what the slides I'm about to show you are from the Summit County Health Department. It's their dashboard, and it's worth seeing the condition of Park City relative to the rest of the state or the country or the globe for that matter, and then factor that into real estate. So again, these slides are all provided on the Summit County Health Department site. But what I want to point out to you here is that people living in Summit County, where Park City is located, who are eligible to receive the vaccine have received at least one dose, and that is 100%, which is terrific. 100% of our residences have received at least one dose, and those who are eligible who have completed their vaccination series, whether that is 2 doses or two dose and a booster, is 85%. So the good news is we are heavily vaccinated, got vaccinated pretty quick relative to Utah and the rest of the country, because we know how important it is for the Park City lifestyle and certainly for the ski season. This graph here is a 7-day case rates of vaccinated and unvaccinated. The blue line are the vaccinated, and you can see that while they had an increase in cases starting in December, which I highlighted in yellow, it's pretty mild relative to the unvaccinated. This graph here is positive weekly cases. Again, the same thing, but the middle of December, right before Christmas, is when guests started rolling into town, and so did the virus. So in an area that is heavily vaccinated, the guests unfortunately brought COVID with them in a big, strong, powerful way. Here's another chart. This graph here goes all the way back to March of 2020. You can see our levels, our daily counts in Summit County. And yes, there was a bump there, but then it leveled out, and look at how it has taken off lately. Significant jump. Omicron, as we know, is highly contagious, and that's what it's looking like here. And that's frankly a tough pill for the locals to swallow, because we want the tourists coming. It's important for our economy, our industry, but sure don't like the COVID coming with them. Finally, let me just show you this. This graph here is a positive cases by 100,000 people, and the main reason I'm showing you this graph here is you can see by the blue graph in the middle of the graph, that was declining increases in COVID cases, and then sure enough, December rolls around and it just takes off. So that is the current condition of COVID in the Summit County, Park City area. We do expect that it will probably stay high throughout the rest of the ski season. By April, it will start to drop off, and that will be a welcomed relief for 2022. And then I need to point out the wealthy in Park City. I believe, for better or for worse, you always have the wealthy living and owning real estate in Park City, in Deer Valley, in the surrounding areas. And they will likely continue to buy real estate with all cash. As I mentioned earlier, 50% of our sales for the last decades have been all cash. So people typically have a lot of cash to buy real estate in the Park City area. They will have the resources to pay more in the marketplace. They will be able to buy what they want, even pay higher than market rates. And as a result, they will acquire properties, and they will beat out their competition for the same properties. I don't see that changing in 2022. The wealth is here, or it's coming here. This also means that property values will likely continue to rise in the future. We always wonder, is there going to be a bubble? Is there going to be adjustment? Well, when you have a limited supply and you have people who have the wherewithal to buy and it's highly competitive, those prices are just going to continue to rise, and that's what we should expect for this new year. So for the wealthy, they will buy, they will continue to grow in their net worth, frankly, with their recent real estate purchases. For those who can buy a piece of Park City real estate in whatever price range they can afford, they will likely add to their net worth if they pull the trigger and do that. And of course, they'll add to their quality of life, because nothing beats living in Park City. So this may or may not be fair to you. I am not reporting on fairness. I'm reporting on what I see happening and what I've seen in 33 years of living in Park City. So this is what I see is going to happen in Park City. Now, what we want to hear from is we want to hear from Jeremy and from Dean and see if they agree. Well, there you have it. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch our January 2022 Park City Market Talk webinar with our predictions and reactions to those predictions. Don't forget to bookmark BuyParkCity.com for your real estate news. We always keep it updated, and of course the team is here to assist you in any way that we can.